when I was young, I was very fortunate in that my grandmother took me to the symphony, both my grandparents. And it was this bizarre event. It was a bizarre social circumstance for a young person, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, to go to. And it was dark, and all the people were wearing fancy clothes, and there were all these people on stage, and they all had instruments, and everyone was there so that this thing could happen, and this thing was music. And it wasn't music like I'd heard on the radio or like I'd heard on my Billy Joel cassette or something. It was instrumental music. It was music with no words that told epic stories. And it was bizarre in that, you know, one person would walk on stage and play one note, and like people clapped. When this one person walked on stage, everyone would be like, "Yeah!" Be like, "Yeah, what's this one? Why is this person?" And they'd be like, and then everyone else would play that note, and I was like, "Wow, this is different. Something's happening here." And then another person without an instrument, but with like the tiniest little stick, would walk up, and everyone would clap a lot more. Honestly, like a lot more. And they got to dance. Their job was to dance to the music, and that seemed awesome. They were can you imagine if your job was to be the one person dancing out of 1,000 people organized around one piece of music, and you're the one that gets to dance, but you don't face the audience while you do it? It's weird. So this music would happen, and it was not instantly transformative for me. It was confusing at first, and it was sometimes boring, and you know, sometimes it was Brahms or like Handel, and it would be, my grandpa would be asleep on one side of my grandma, and I would be falling asleep a little bit on the other side of her. But other times it was like I didn't even really understand what was happening there. And I'd be reading in the program that this piece is like an epic story of this person, and they went to war over here, and then the war happens, and they come back here, and they have a love, and their love dies, and all this thing. And I'm listening to the music, and I'm following along, and I'm like, wow, this is what's happening. There's a story being told here through this music. And sometimes there was a story in the program about the music that it's like, oh, it's about this person who felt this way. And I would listen to it, and I'd think, well, that really I didn't hear any of that. That just sounded like notes to me. But what this did over the years was instill in me this very firm, deep-rooted thing that says that instrumental music tells a story. Instrumental music is full. And when I turn on the radio, that's not what I feel like I'm told that much. I think it used to be a lot more prevalent, like in 70s rock, and lots of stuff that doesn't get to the radio anyways these days. But I've always written instrumental music, and I remember being so excited after I'd been writing music for a little while, and I'd come back from, I don't know, I was like 17 or 18 maybe, and my grandma was over for Thanksgiving, and my parents had been kind of prodding me and saying, you should play music for your relatives. So after dinner, I brought up my guitar kind of sheepishly, and yeah, I'll play you a song if you want to hear. Oh. It was super, self-diminuitizing and embarrassed about it, about this idea that I'm going to make you listen to something that I made. But I played this song that I'd written, and it was typical of the stuff that I was writing when I learned guitar and started writing music. It was fast, it was complicated, it had a lot of different parts, and it was cool, and I felt cool while I was playing it. And my grandmother sat and listened. And at the end of the song, she said, "I have a question for you." I said, "Yeah, what?" And she said, "What is that song about?" And I was stumped. Because the song was about how fast I could play the guitar. It was about how complicated and how interesting I could make the sounds. It wasn't about something. It didn't have a story. And that was a big moment. So, I'm going to play a song. And this is a song that comes from two places. It comes from the Snoqualmie River Valley and the Skykomish River Valley in western Washington, in the foothills of the Cascades, where there's fog and there's salmon in the streams, and sometimes seals. Sometimes seals come way upstream from the sea. And you can see seals. And it's a place with rocks that can make tools that have been used by humans since humans have been there. It's a place where there are otters and mink and bobcats and cougars and bears and people. Beautiful people who care a lot about the earth and act as though they care a lot about the earth. And those two things don't always go together. And it's also about the Shenandoah and Potomac rivers in Virginia, and the Shenandoah River Valley and the Potomac River that snakes around the county where I was born. And the place where those two rivers come together is actually, it's a confluence, just like the Skykomish and the Snoqualmie have a confluence that is a powerful place to be. So do the Shenandoah and the Potomac have a confluence, and that's at a place called Harper's Ferry, where Maryland and Virginia and West Virginia all come together, and there's rocks and heights, and there's a town that has seen devastating things. Enough so that you've actually probably heard of it. And there's a train, like that train that you just heard. But it's a song about traveling from to the west from the east for me, and it's about leaving a home and coming to learn that I was in a new home. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all my patrons that are making this life of making art possible. If you want to be a patron, you can. Just go to my Patreon page. And if you're not, I hope you enjoyed it too.